Hi everybody. So for today I had actually planned a completely different video. However, my voice actress is actually sick. She's lost her voice. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to take some questions that I've been asked at group by my mums about my experiences as a feeding specialist and what I do. So my lovely assistant is going to ask me some questions. Let's get into it.
Let's start with what seems to be the most pertinent question. How did you get into breastfeeding? I mean, it doesn't seem like a standard job.
It's not a standard job, to be fair, and honestly I hadn't even heard about it until about 20 years ago. However, right, so I got into this because I had two children. My first child, I really wanted to breastfeed. However, that didn't work out for me and she ended up formula fed. Now my second one, I was like, okay, I'm disappointed with myself. I'm definitely breastfeeding this time. And I was in hospital and I had this really angry, annoyed baby just kind of snapping at my breast like this little possessed crocodile. And she just kept screaming at me because she was hungry. And honestly, this child terrified me. And she made me sweat every time she opened her mouth. Anyway, as I'm there struggling with her, trying to bravely put her on the breast, this really lovely woman just came walking past the bed. And she said to me, why don't you try just rotating her in a little bit more? Wait for her to have that big open mouth and then just give her that big push. And I did that. And oh my God, this child was silent. She latched onto my breast and she fed, and I was just like, oh, thank God. I've got this, we can do this. And I've looked up and she was gone. And I don't actually remember catching her name, but that just intrigued me. And then one day I was going to this group and it was raining cats and dogs. And I couldn't get into the group and I was devastated. But I also didn't want to go back out into the rain. So I saw a poster that was on about breastfeeding training, helpers course and all of that business. And I thought, okay, you know what? Let's stick me head in there and see what's happening. And I did. And I saw that lady and I recognised her straight away, even though it had been about a year or a half ago, give or take, since I'd seen her. And I thought, you know what? I like you. I'm coming in. Let's see what this is all about. And I actually loved the course. Everything she said was magic. And I hung on every word. And next thing you know, I'd completed the entire course. And that's kind of how I got into it.
So, Martina, is it all about breastfeeding?
Well, it is and it isn't. For the baby, it's all about the boobs. But actually, what I actually deal with is the whole journey. So people think at group that they can't come in if they're formula feeding or they're mixed feeding. But actually we'll deal with both because it's about that informed choice. It doesn't matter whether you're at the start of your journey or at the finish. You might want to talk about solids. You might want to talk about how to get the baby off of your breast. You might talk about your balance on mixed feeding. So actually I cover a wide range of things.
So, what do you find most enjoyable about it?
Honestly, I love the fact that every day is different. So sometimes I do work on ward. I also do home visits. I think doing groups is actually my favourite thing because it's the people that makes it. I meet some very interesting characters.
Are there any that stand out to you? Any that are memorable?
Haha, so many. There was one lady, just made me chuckle. She come in for some advice and they were doing a lot of nighttime feeds by the bottle and her supply was suffering. And she was asking me how could she possibly boost her supply. Now bear in mind, some people think that with breastfeeding your supply you just flick a switch on and off and that's job done. So I had to explain to her about how she needed to feed her baby a lot more. She'd have to wake up for her nighttime feeds and, you know, not have the husband do all the nighttime feeds because it helps her supply. She'd also have to start expressing and do lots of skin to skin. And she sat there and she nodded. She was like, yeah, no. She said, I'll do anything, but I won't do that. And all I could hear in my head, my inner voice was going, Meatloaf, I'll do anything for love, but I won't do that. She says to me, I love me sleep. I can't do that. And I thought, fair enough.
But I guess what you do is difficult and it's not always plain sailing.
No. Sometimes we have more complex cases.
Like what? Have you had any difficult times in what you've done?
In all honesty, yes. I was working with a lady many years ago, and I was scheduled to go see her the day I came into work, and I remember being pulled aside by my manager to tell me that I wasn't going to go on that visit. And I was thinking, why? And she said to me, Martina, the baby's passed away last night. And it felt like the world has stopped.
Right.
And I thought, oh my God, seriously? And she was like, yeah. And I guess I hadn't thought about that. I only see, at that point, it was the lovely side. And I just remember as a mother thinking, my God, that poor woman, that's just heartbreaking. And to this day, I cannot pass that poor woman's building without remembering her and her beautiful baby and thinking, I just couldn't imagine it as a mother myself. It's heartbreaking.
It must have been difficult. So, okay, that got a bit dark there. But on a lighter note, what has been your most memorable moment? The one that's given you the most satisfaction?
Okay, again, going back a few years actually. One of my most memorable clients, we had a very strange request. And it was the first time I was ever actually asked this. And it was a dad called the office. They wanted some support. Because mum, when she gave birth, things went pear-shaped for her. She actually ended up in a coma. And the baby, thank God, was fine. Absolutely healthy, beautiful baby boy. And mum, unfortunately, was moved to HDU, which is the high dependency unit.
Okay.
And Dad actually asked us if anyone would help support the mum to express and do skin to skin, because he was adamant mum would come out of this coma and she really wanted to breastfeed. So we wanted to give her the best chance possible. So the aim was to keep the supply going, and the skin to skin honestly was so the baby could meet mummy. And honestly, I believe that skin to skin was going to keep her going. I truly believe that if you give her something to fight for, she'll fight as a mother. And I was doing this for a good while actually. And one day, I'd gotten to know the family quite well at this point. So obviously I'd go in every day, I'd do my thing, I'd ask permission to the woman. I would have this very one-sided conversation because I talk a lot. Obviously she didn't respond, she's unconscious. But I went into work one day and I reckon it was the best day ever at work, if I'm going to be honest. I went to see this mum and her mum was just ecstatic. Sorry, my cat decided to join us. Okay, this is Tequila. And she had actually regained consciousness. I just thought,
Wow.
Oh my God, that is amazing. And she told me that she remembered she was a mum.
Wow.
Obviously she was struggling to speak, but as time went on, I'd have a little actual conversation with her and she told me she knew her baby was there.
That's incredible.
And she'd remembered having the baby. And all I could think is, at some point you're going to get stronger. and you're going to go home and be a mum, and that's just amazing. So that was actually my best day ever at work, my most memorable. So, okay, Tequila, you want to be on camera? Okay. So yeah, that was my best day ever.
I can see why that sounded absolutely incredible.
Yeah, to this day, nothing else has topped that.
Could you get Tequila to say hi? Because that would be a really memorable moment for the camera.
Right, if you're going to assist on gate crashing, at least say hi. Okay.
That was your moment, Tequila.
That's your moment to shine, honey.
So, okay, Martina, this is your picture moment, okay? So, explain to us why people should breastfeed their kids in your eyes.
Right. Well, if you want your baby to have a strong immune system, breastfeeding's the way to get that. Also, if you want to have an intelligent child, guess what? Breastfeeding's the way to also get that. And if you want your baby to have a strong attachment to you and feel secure, guess what? Breastfeeding's the way to do that too. So, if there's anything else you want, because there's so many more reasons why to breastfeed, but this video can only be so long, drop me a line below. Ask me as many questions as you like. Final countdown. Right,
so, with that, as you might have gathered, we're at the end. But I do have one final question, Martina. So you're not off the hook right now. My question is, what more would you like to achieve in breastfeeding and in the field of breastfeeding?
Right, so I do all these videos because actually we are blessed in the UK to have services such as the NHS and to have teams of feeding specialists. And unfortunately, there are places in the world that actually can't access any of this because they have to pay for everything. So I make these videos because I want it to be accessible to everybody. I don't know if you can pick up on slightly the accent, but I'm Irish. I would also like to help with the rates in Ireland because that's something close to my heart. Being Irish, we have low rates, and I would love to help keep rates up anywhere actually, because
get those rates up is another
one. Get those rates up.
Get those rates up. Only person to okay, get those rates up. There's the message. Up. There we go. Martina, thank you for that, and we will
see you in the next video. Hope you found it informative.
That's our YouTube.